Hello, I am Matt Danner. I am a assistant winemaker at King Estate Winery.
Hi, I'm Andrew Belzer with King Estate Winery. I'm the assistant winemaker. We'll be tasting two Pinot Noirs from the 2016 vintage for this upcoming Spring Tower Club release. We'll be starting with the Kennel Vineyard Designate Pinot Noir and then going through the Nicholas Vineyard Designate Pinot Noir.
The 2016 Kennel Vineyard Designate Pinot Noir. It's from a vineyard just a little bit outside of Monmouth, a little bit lower elevation than King Estate, and ripens a little bit earlier. And this wine is primarily composed of the clone 777, a little bit earlier ripening, a lot of dark fruit characters.
It's also a south-facing slope, so lots of sun exposure throughout the year. Also contributes to it being a warmer site, so earlier ripening. Also more even ripening. So as Matt was saying, this works really well with 777 and Pommard clones because they are earlier ripening and they tend to bring out more dark fruit in the finished wine.
Really what our goal is to let the fruit and the vineyard speak for itself. All of this fruit comes in whole cluster, hand harvested. We will sort and destem at the winery. After it spends about 72 hours on a cold soak, we will start warm it up and start fermentation. Certain lots will potentially be whole cluster fermented, or depending on the overall ripeness and lignification of the stems.
Mimication also on the overall cleanliness of the fruit. So a warm, clean year like 2016, we'll typically see a little bit more whole cluster in our wines. This particular wine got around 15 to 20%, which is a little bit on the high side, but we can usually go a bit higher on warm vintages. Our general wine process for our vineyard designates are fairly similar. Everything is hand harvested. From there we'll hand sort, and then it gets either destem crushed, destemmed, or a little bit of whole cluster. With our designates, we usually just do a destem with some whole cluster depending on the cleanliness of the fruit. The wine's then cold soaked in stainless steel open top tanks. About a 2-week fermentation. From there the wine will get drained off the skins. The free run then goes down to oak barrels where it goes through secondary fermentation, and the wines are typically aged between 12 and 18 months.
2016 was such a great year as just warm, dry, but without a lot of high heat spikes that typically drive away acid. So this wine was able to retain a lot of great acidity and balance, but yet still have a lot of complex, concentrated flavors from this extra hang time, extra ripening. Really develops a more depth and more complexity. Kennel Vineyards just has such really a lot of care is involved in their vineyard management, and our goal is to make sure that these wines show a sense of place and really how unique Willamette Valley Pinot Noir is in the world. And so the Kennel Vineyard Pinot Noir definitely showcases some of that dark fruit that you really see in the 777, some black cherry. There's still some forest floor, some very subtle notes of like cocoa, and even a little bit of black, like a leather or a tobacco kind of notes there. So it's really a complex, very structured, and very unique style of Willamette Valley Pinot Noir.
Yes, like what Matt was saying, a lot of very dark fruit. I get some rhubarb pie, definitely forest floor, but it's also very concentrated, supple tannins, yet but it's also very silky textured, but yet does have some nice fine grain tannins that really help lengthen out the finish. So the Nicholas Vineyard is located in the Chehalem Mountain AVA. It's the northernmost vineyard that we source from in the Willamette Valley. It's also a very warm site, not quite as warm as the Kennel Vineyard that we were previously talking about. It's a little bit higher in elevation, so it is a little bit cooler, but still pretty warm. There's mostly 777 and Pomar clones similar to the Kennel, but there's also a little bit of 667 clone. The 667 clone tends to have higher tannins, so it can help balance out the lush, more velvety tannins that you tend to get on a warm site with 777 Pomard. It's also south facing, so it does get a lot of or a lot of sun exposure.
Most people think that farther north is cooler, where in Oregon, Willamette Valley flows north, so farther north is actually a little bit warmer because it's lower elevation. So we see a little bit, this fruit was really come in a little bit earlier.
So our Nicholas Vineyard Designate Pinot Noir really showcases Chehalem Mountain characters very well. Being a little bit cooler, but still warmer than most, it has a lot of that nice concentrated ripe red fruit, a lot of strawberry, pomegranate, a little bit of a kind of dark cherry also, but it also showcases a little more spice, tannin, and acid. The mid palate's rounder, but the acid towards the end really helps bring out tannin. That's not quite chalky, but a little bit more grippy than, say, the Kennel was. It really helps provide more structure and length on the finish.
I think it offers such a really unique, rich character that you don't often see in some other Willamette Valley Pinot Noirs. I think there's this almost luscious quality to it. But while it still melds so well with the acid and this really very unique kind of fine tannin, I think it showcases just how different the Chehalem Mountains maybe presents a Pinot Noir.
Yeah, even though it's warm, like Matt was saying, you get a lot of that ripe red fruit in it, but it definitely retains more acidity than, say, the Kennel was previously. The acidity tends to bring out a little bit more of a, not chalky tannin, but a little bit more grip. Definitely comes through more on the finish, shows more structure with the wine, which helps lengthen.
It's a real joy getting to make these Vineyard Designate wines, and a true pleasure to get to share these with our Tower Club members. So I'm looking forward to everyone getting to try these for the spring release. I think this is a real great showcase for Willamette Valley Pinot Noir.
I'd also like to say thank you for being Tower Club members and for us to present these two small lot designate wines. We definitely really enjoy making them, and we can't wait for you to try them at home.
Cheers.
Cheers.